When I scrolled through my social media and saw the news of Sophia's divorce, I knew that my time with Ethan was over. Of course, it's not just me. Everyone feels this way. I saw many comments from people under that post in the moments. Ethan's friends, classmates, and partners. They asked below, "Sophia, when are you coming back to celebrate your return to being single? Yeah, someone has been waiting for you for a long time." These people always distance themselves from me when I am in front of them. I went to the party with Ethan, and they politely called me sister-in-law, but as soon as they said it, they immediately averted their gaze, refusing to say another word. When we occasionally make eye contact, I can see it very clearly. In their gaze towards me, there is a sense of pity. Yes. When we watch movies, who doesn't like to see the talented and beautiful couple finally together? There are already enough regrets and unfulfilling moments in life. Ethan and Sophia are just such a perfect couple. They grew up together, studied together, and naturally fell in love, with everyone around them saying that they would definitely get married in the future, if Sophia didn't marry someone else. I had seen a photo of Sophia and Ethan together at Ethan's mother's place before. Sophia was very beautiful, her skin as white as porcelain, standing charmingly beside the man, her eyes filled with laughter. Anyone who saw them couldn't help but praise their match. Ethan's mother sighed and said to me, "I don't know what Sophia is thinking, she went abroad and got married over there." Poor Ethan. At this, she fell silent. But I know she meant to say, poor Ethan lost his beloved, and then, in a daze, married me. She, to him, is the one from the past, a scar that has already formed a scab. It won't be deliberately mentioned, nor will it hurt. Yet when remembered, it still causes a moment of distraction. They had seen him fight for her, jealous and heartbroken, only to end up with a grand but empty spectacle. Later, looking back at Ethan and me, it inevitably felt a bit off. It's not that Ethan treats me poorly. He is a very respectable man. No matter where we are, he gives me the respect I deserve as his wife. I went to the old house with him for dinner. After we finished eating, he would hold my hand and we would stroll in the garden. When I twisted my ankle, he squatted down, turned his back to me, and tilted his head slightly. In the moonlight, there was surprisingly a hint of tenderness. He clicked his tongue and said, "Come up. I often stay up late working at night." He would hold a cup of milk, waiting beside me, leaning against the wall like a boneless creature, gently tapping on my desk, "Hurry up and finish, I still have to wash the cup." He has never lost his composure in front of me. He handles everything with ease. Even in bed, with the corners of his eyes tinged red, in the most intimate moment, he merely smiles, as if conceding, calls my name, his tone chillingly indifferent. "Lily. Let's do it this way from now on, okay?" His first love has already become a wife, and he has married me. So he said to me, "Let's just leave it at that." I read those comments, one by one. I saw someone inadvertently mention me. "Wait a minute, is Ethan preparing for the 3rd anniversary recently?" He said he wanted to surprise that person. The comment was posted for less than a minute, and that person may have felt it was inappropriate, so they quickly deleted it. Except for me, there shouldn't be many people who saw it. My finger on the phone screen stiffened. In the blink of an eye, it's been 3 years. Is Ethan really planning to prepare a surprise for me? Just as I thought of this, I saw Ethan liked that post on Moments. He said nothing at all. However, it was precisely because he said nothing that it was enough to provoke the imagination. I opened my Moments. I am someone who loves to share my life, and I often post about my daily experiences. I slid down from the top to the bottom. There wasn't a trace of Ethan to be found at all. He is a person who is very afraid of trouble and never cares about these things. I sighed. There was a sense of finality in the air. Love and indifference were too evident. But I had no choice. When we first met for the blind date, Ethan and I agreed that he would help me save the nearly bankrupt Shin family, and I would marry him. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. Now, Sophia is coming back. Perhaps I should ask him openly what he means. If he wants a divorce, I have no objections. Even if I really like him. After making this decision, I calmly found Ethan's phone number. I called him. He picked up quickly. I hadn't had the chance to speak yet when he smiled and said calmly, "Lily. Are you home? I'm about to head back. Do you need me to bring anything?" I clenched my palm slightly. Calmly, I replied to him, "No need. I just have something I want to talk to you about." Perhaps my tone was too serious, and his voice faltered, the smile slowly fading away. "Very important?" he asked. I said, "Yes. It's very important." After finishing this call, I just sat in the living room waiting for him. In those brief 10 minutes, I thought of many things. I thought about the day after I married Ethan, when I received a friend request from Sophia. She said she is Ethan's sister, who grew up with him, and is far abroad, unable to attend our wedding, so she can only wish me happiness in this way. She said she is very sorry. At that time, I didn't know she was Ethan's unforgettable first love. I politely said thank you. Later, when I learned her identity, I suddenly realized how painfully slow I could be at times. Yet, for reasons I couldn't understand, I didn't delete her. I also never mentioned this to anyone. Perhaps because, at that time, I didn't love Ethan yet, but deep down, I was very much someone who loved watching drama. I observed everything with a cold eye, wanting to see what else Sophia would do. But unfortunately, she did nothing at all. Instead, my relationship with Ethan grew closer and closer. Many times, I think that Ethan probably likes my obedience and silence. But beyond that, there is nothing more. He is no longer young, nor will he love me as he loved Sophia. That night, I didn't wait for Ethan to come back. Nor did I receive any messages or calls from him. I called him several times, but no one ever answered. I held my phone, looking at the numbers in my contacts, and for a moment, I was almost in tears. I suddenly have a premonition. I can't wait for him any longer. Someone is reuniting. Then there must be someone losing. The world is unpredictable, it's always like this. I was stunned for a long time and sent him a message, "If you're busy, you don't have to rush back. I'm going to sleep now." At 3 in the morning, he replied to me with just one word, "Good." That night, I woke up many times. I didn't sleep well. The next day I had a fever. I took some medicine and slept for a long time. By the time I woke up, it was already evening. Ethan still hasn't returned. Just like that, 2 more days have passed. The day my body recovered, I saw Sophia's social media posts and realized that Ethan had not been in the North City these past few days. The day I was waiting for him at home, Sophia had a car accident across the ocean. Ethan took a night flight to rush over. These days, he has been accompanying her. Naturally, he has no time to pay attention to me. That night, I stood alone outside the villa. At the other end of the road, there was no Ethan. The night had a moon, and the moonlight laid a thin layer of mist in my eyes. I sighed. There was no need to ask Ethan about the divorce anymore. He had already answered me in another way. I called my mom. She picked up, and after just 2 sentences, she sighed, "When you married into the Ethan family, it was always a stretch, you two were never a good match. It's better this way." As she spoke, she comforted me. "That kid Ethan seems quite approachable on the surface, but in reality, he's colder than anyone else, you can tell he won't love anyone." It's not like that. During the years when he was said to love Sophia, he would have given her all the good in the world, he cherished her and protected her, fearing nothing more than for her to suffer any grievances. But Ethan and I really aren't a good match. He is a young master raised in a world of luxury, sailing smoothly through life, succeeding in everything he does, always wanting the best. Yet, when it comes to marriage, things are not as satisfactory. After Sophia got married, Ethan was constantly urged by his family to go on blind dates. Ethan's family, while feeling sorry for his missed connection with Sophia, also feared that he would become deeply entangled in the painful sea of love and unable to extricate himself, so they came up with this idea. During that time, a multitude of girls gathered around him, daughters of wealthy families, socialites, and refined ladies, so numerous that it was dazzling. However, in the end, he actually chose me. One of his friends is my senior, and he casually mentioned me. I have a junior who is quite good-looking, but her family background is a bit lacking. She has a nice temperament and is very easy to talk to. But unfortunately, it seems her family has encountered some issues recently and is on the verge of bankruptcy. Ethan, do you remember that girl? She came to my birthday party last spring, and I even had her help deliver a hangover soup to you. Ethan was very silent during that time, always lazy when going out to play, and didn't like to talk. No one expected him to react to these words. But unexpectedly, he spoke up, his voice deep, help me arrange a meeting with her. The crowd erupted in an uproar. No way, Ethan, you want to meet my junior? Ethan laughed at that, intrigued. In the years that followed, there were always those who felt it was unfair. They thought Ethan's marriage was too hasty, and that I was unworthy of him. They would mention, both openly and subtly, the girl who once stood beside Ethan, who was together with him, called the golden couple. If Sophia is the moon in the sky, then I am the mud on the ground. Ethan steps on me, and those around him would gladly give him a new pair of shoes. The day Ethan came back, I was packing my luggage. He pushed the door open, carrying the weight of wind and frost, his brows etched with fatigue. Rubbing his forehead, he walked into the living room and spoke, "Sorry, I've had a few things on my mind lately and haven't been able to pay attention to you." At this point, he saw the situation before him clearly, and his words suddenly came to a halt. I paused my actions. I haven't tidied up yet, it's a bit messy right now. Please have a seat, wait for me for a moment, it will be ready soon. He stood still, not moving. After a while, he looked me up and down almost blankly, and then asked, "Are you going on a business trip?" "Not at all." "Travel?" he asked again, his voice trembling slightly. I sighed, just about to respond. But he suddenly let out a cold laugh, as if he had already thought of something, his gaze slightly frosty, looking down at me as he spoke. "What? It's neither a business trip nor a vacation. Making such a big fuss. Could it be that you want to divorce me?" Since we got married, I have never seen this side of Ethan. Sharp and aggressive. Meeting his gaze, I nodded, "Yes, we are getting a divorce." He pressed his lips together and glanced at the luggage beside me. "You're not joking, are you?" Before we got married, he told me that as long as I felt tired or weary, I could end this marriage at any time. I hummed in response, "I'm not joking." Under the warm yellow light, he remained silent for a while before finally speaking, "Give me a reason." I held the suitcase in my hand, unsure of where to begin. He sat down, looking very patient. "Can't say it?" "No problem, the night is long, take your time to think." "I have all the time in the world." The man's expression was calm, but there were dark circles under his eyes. It was clear that he hadn't had a good night's sleep in a long time. I took a deep breath, just about to speak. There was a knock at the door. It was the driver I had arranged. I walked over, opened the door, and said, "Right away." Looking back, I glanced at Ethan. The words I had originally wanted to say were swallowed back down. After all, it was he who helped me in the beginning. I have never interfered in the matters between him and Sophia. Now that we have decided to help others achieve their happiness, why say so much? It's very simple. It's been 3 years, and I feel tired of it. He paused slightly, furrowing his brows as he looked at me. I placed the divorce agreement in front of him and then walked out. As I was about to leave, I heard his voice. It carried a hint of self-mockery, yet also seemed indifferent. He said, "Fine, then let's get a divorce." I signed a prenuptial agreement with Ethan. It was my insistence to sign it. It was as if I had known this day would come all along. We made it very clear that when we parted, I would not take anything of his with me. But when the day really came, he was still very generous. He had the lawyer draft the divorce agreement again and generously gave me half of the properties under his name, along with a lot of money. He said, if you don't want these things, we can just let them sit. As he said this, we were sitting face to face. His hand tapped on the paper, and as he raised his gaze, it fell on me, carrying a hint of confrontation. I suddenly felt that he actually didn't want to divorce me. But this thought was just a fleeting one. In the next moment, his phone rang. I saw the name above. It was Sophia's call. He looked a bit irritable, yet also seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. He quickly stood up, walked to the nearby balcony, and answered the call. Look. No matter how busy a person is, there is always time to answer a phone call. But why? That day I waited and waited, only to receive an extremely perfunctory good. I watched his silhouette, raised my hand, and signed my name. After signing, I left before he finished his call. On the day we received the divorce certificate, he sat in the car looking at me, his expression vague and unclear. Lily, is this what you wanted? No regrets? I said, He curled his lips slightly, gripping the steering wheel a bit harder, glancing sideways without looking at me anymore. All right then. I'm leaving. I took a step back and nodded to him, goodbye. He didn't look at me. In the next moment, the car drove past me. Not long after, the news of my divorce from Ethan spread. I heard that on the day of my 3-year anniversary with Ethan, his group of friends rang the doorbell carrying some things. I thought what awaited would be the warm scene we had long planned. As a result, there was nothing. Only Ethan, dressed in pajamas, with an expressionless face. Someone awkwardly spoke up, Ethan, didn't you greet us earlier? You were supposed to surprise your sister-in-law. Ethan looked at the person outside the door for a long while, before finally tugging at the corner of his lips and saying, Oh, I forgot. You can go home now. Someone instinctively retorted, Huh? Why? Ethan's hand rested on the doorknob, and as if recalling something, his gaze turned slightly cold as he said, What else could it be? We got divorced. With such a commotion, everyone knew that Ethan and I were truly over. But beyond that, Ethan said no more. Those people couldn't get anything out of his mouth, so they turned to me and asked. Their tone was sympathetic, yet still carried that air of superiority. I didn't reply. Pretended I didn't see it. Turned my head and deleted their contact information. Including Sophia's. From now on, whatever happens between them is none of my business. Ethan and I were originally from 2 different worlds. At this moment, I felt a bit relieved. Over the years, aside from the large sum of money Ethan gave me when we got married, the Zhou and Chu families had no entanglements. At the end of this month, I went on a business trip and saw Ethan in the airport lobby. He was there to pick someone up. Through the crowd, through 3 years of time, I finally saw Sophia. They stood together, truly a perfect match. I stood frozen in place for a moment. At that moment, my name suddenly came over the loudspeaker. It was time to board. At the moment I turned around, I saw Ethan suddenly stop in his tracks. He looked back for a while before finally averting his gaze. When the plane landed, I opened my phone and saw a message. It's from Ethan. He asked, It's you, right? The day I returned to the northern city, I had just arrived home when I received another notification. I had to meet a client. I arrived at the agreed place as promised, and by the time the details were finalized, it was almost dark. I walked out of the private room, only to see an unexpected person. It's Sophia. She holds her phone, her face beaming with smiles as she talks. Yes, I'm back home. Don't worry, this time I'll make the most of it. Isn't it a coincidence? I just got divorced, and Ethan followed suit right after. He must still have feelings for me, right? I listened from the side, nodding involuntarily. The bonds of youthful friendship are not so easily cast aside. I walked over, and as I brushed past Sophia, she had just hung up the phone and glanced at me. You look a bit familiar, have we met before? I said, no. She nodded politely and did not ask any further questions. However, in the next moment, my path was blocked. I looked up and saw the man's distinct jawline. Ethan lowered his gaze to me, his throat bobbing, and after a moment, as if it didn't matter, he said, "What brings you here?" This question was asked without any context. But I understood it. He might think that I knew he was here and came to find him. I fell silent for a moment and explained to him, "There's a client over here, coming to discuss something." Ethan's expression stiffened slightly. After a moment, he cleared his throat awkwardly and said, "All right. Ready to go back? I'll take you." I turned back to take a look. Sophia was standing not far from me, gazing intently at us. I waved my phone. "No need. You have friends. I've called a car, it will be here soon." After saying that, I pushed him aside and walked outside. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, his lips pressed into a straight line. "Wait a moment. I have something to ask you." I looked up and said, "What?" He stared at me without blinking, but his grip loosened a bit, as if afraid of hurting me. "What you said that day, it can't be true, right?" I was stunned for a moment. Then it dawned on me that what he was asking was the phrase I had said, "Tired of it." What's the difference? We are already divorced. After saying that, I pulled my hand away from his and walked outside. Later I found out that on that day, they were throwing a welcome party for Sophia. However, after seeing me, Ethan's enthusiasm inexplicably waned significantly. He sat for a short while, before making an excuse to leave. The sun rises and sets like this. I never expected that, for a long time afterward, I would not see Ethan again. At the end of this month, I received the opportunity to study abroad as an exchange student. The day after arriving in a foreign country, I was walking on the street and lost my phone and wallet. I got a new phone number. I also applied for a new WeChat. At 5 o'clock that night, I was half asleep when I suddenly woke up. Opening the phone, what caught my eye was a photo of Sophia coming out of the Joe group. Netizens uncovered her relationship with Ethan. I found videos and photos of Sophia winning various prestigious awards on the international dance stage over the years. People began to talk about this couple who had reunited after a broken relationship. I saw someone mention me in the comments section. "I heard that this member of the Joe family was previously married, is that true?" Soon, someone replied. "I have a friend from their circle, and I heard they have already divorced." There were no feelings on either side, and the separation was quite smooth. I looked at these and paused for a moment. It suddenly occurred to me, the 3 years I spent with Ethan. No one ever truly wished us well, believing that we could make it to the end. A few days later, I received a call from a friend. She told me, "Ethan has been going crazy looking for you these past few days, saying he can't get through to your phone." "He doesn't know you've left?" I thought for a moment and asked, "Did he say what he wanted to see me about?" The friend sighed, "I don't know, he didn't say. If he wanted to know my number, it wouldn't be difficult." But after that day, I never received a call from him. It was just that, during the first snow of the year, as I stood by the window and looked down, I vaguely saw a familiar figure. Upon closer inspection, however, there was nothing at all. Since coming here, I haven't kept in touch with many people. When chatting, I never bring up Ethan. Sometimes, I think he must be married by now. To the person he truly loves. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. During the time I returned to my country, it just so happened that my best friend was getting engaged. She called me and asked me to accompany her to try on wedding dresses. I went. I never expected to run into Ethan. Across the street, he stood by the car, looking down at his phone. He didn't notice me. 2 years later, he seemed to have become much more aloof. His entire demeanor had settled, making it difficult for others to approach him. I withdrew my gaze and followed my friend into the store. She tried on several outfits and finally settled on 2. Just as she was about to leave, she remembered something and refused to go, urging me to try a set as well. After the exam, she pulled me aside and looked at me for a long time before finally speaking. "Lily, have you ever thought about getting married? You're still young and so beautiful. What kind of man do you want to marry?" I chuckled. I haven't thought about this yet. Friend sighed. How about I introduce you? I have a few good candidates on my side. We can arrange a time to meet. I listened patiently, but another voice reached my ears. Brother-in-law. I turned around and saw Max. He is Ethan's cousin. He has always shown me a certain level of respect. He is also one of the few who wouldn't bring up Sophia in front of me. His gaze lingered on me for a while before he spoke. I'm sorry, Sister Lily, I got used to calling you that. When did you come back? Is this an engagement or a wedding? Such a big event, yet there's not a whisper about it. I was just about to explain when a staff member came over, interrupting the conversation, and said to Max, Sir, Mr. Ethan is waiting for you outside and asks that you hurry. I glanced outside. There was a figure standing with their back to us, the shirt slightly rolled up, idly spinning a car key. The bond between the brothers has always been strong, and this time, he should have come with Max. However, he seems reluctant to step into such a place, showing no interest in looking inside at all. Max suddenly became flustered. The look in his eyes also turned a bit tense. I have something to do, so I'm leaving now. I'll get in touch later. After saying that, without waiting for me to respond, he hurriedly pulled his female companion out the door. However, I didn't expect to come face to face with Ethan so soon. I was invited to attend a business summit. My seat is towards the back. Halfway through, I noticed someone in the front row, slowly getting up and walking towards the stage. The man was dressed in a suit, casting a casual glance at the people in the audience, his tone leisurely, as if nothing could affect his mood. After he finished speaking, the little girl next to me quietly said, So handsome. I heard he's still single and doesn't have a woman by his side. I was a bit surprised. Is he still single? Just as I thought of this, I looked up and saw Ethan's gaze suddenly freeze, losing the nonchalance and indifference it had just moments before. At the end, I walked outside. But at the door, I saw Ethan. His gaze fell directly on me, not shying away in the slightest. There were too many people around. I instinctively changed direction, preparing to exit from the other side. But then I received a call from a friend. She asked me, Are you free tomorrow? Come and see the venue I've chosen. I chuckled, Engagement venue? Sure, I have some free time. After saying that, I hung up the phone. When I looked up again, I saw that Ethan's gaze had turned unusually cold and heavy. He looked at me and curled his lips into a smirk. After a long pause, he said nothing and just walked away. That night, I returned home, and just after I sat down for a short while, a familiar phone number appeared on my mobile. I almost thought I was hallucinating. We haven't been in touch for a long time. Today's meeting was just a coincidence. Now, he is calling me. Could it be that something is wrong? Thinking this, I answered the call. The moment the phone connected, I heard a man's voice on the other end, deep and hoarse, with a hint of drunkenness. Congratulations. I fell silent for a moment. It seems that Max has already told him about that day. He also thought that I was going to get engaged. I held the phone, not knowing what to reply. I was too lazy to explain to him that this was actually just a misunderstanding. I could only respond with a vague mm. As soon as he finished speaking, I heard him let out a laugh. It held no particular emotion, yet carried an indescribable hint of mockery. Before long, he took the initiative to hang up the phone. I took the phone away from my ear and saw the call duration displayed on the screen. 54 seconds. 2 sentences. The rest, nothing at all. I put down my phone and took a shower. As soon as I stepped out, I heard the phone ringing incessantly. I walked over, picked up the phone, and saw the call log. In just that short half hour, Ethan called me 11 times. I suddenly felt a bit like laughing. That person, always so composed, seemed as if nothing in this world could stir any ripples in his heart. At this moment, they actually called me more than 10 times with such persistence. Just as I thought of this, my phone rang again. I looked at it for 2 seconds and answered. If I don't answer, with his attitude, I have no doubt that in the next second, he will appear downstairs at my house. What is it? I asked. The other side remained silent, not speaking for a long while. I felt a strange and somewhat unknown anger rising within me, unable to hold back as I spoke. After making so many calls all night, what exactly do you want to do? The man finally spoke. His voice had no warmth, and he spoke very slowly, asking me, why didn't you answer the phone just now? Is there someone with you? Are you with your fiancé? 3 questions came crashing down in succession. I was momentarily stunned. So, he thought that because I hadn't answered the phone just now, I was up to something. I pressed my lips together, feeling a bit impatient. What does it have to do with you? As the words fell, the sound of a lighter being clicked came from the other side. Ethan smiled slightly, his tone somewhat serious, but his voice was vague. Is he richer than me? Is he better to you than I am? You just want to marry him. To be honest, these 2 questions are not difficult to answer. In the entire North City, there are few people who can be wealthier than him. In those 3 years together, I truly couldn't find any faults in him. He will always stand by me, supporting me unconditionally. I want to go somewhere to have fun, as long as I tell him, the next day he will have everything arranged, never half-heartedly. I held my phone, hesitating to speak. Ethan was also silent. After a long while, he sighed. You divorced me because of Sophia, right? You didn't even ask me what really happened, and you just handed me the verdict. Lily, this isn't fair to me. At this point in the conversation, I don't know if it's just my illusion. The man's voice was unexpectedly choked with emotion. Realizing this, I felt a bit flustered and instinctively hung up the phone. I can almost be sure that Ethan got drunk tonight. Normally, he would never do something like this. After I hung up, Ethan didn't call again. His commotion kept me awake, and I realized I understood what Ethan meant. He was bowing his head to me, explaining that he had another secret with Sophia. Between them, there was actually nothing. The divorce was my stubborn decision. But back then, being young, how could I leave any room for myself? I have been a very sensitive person since I was young. I am the second child in my family. I have an older sister and a younger brother. My parents love me, but they do not invest too much in me, nor do they interfere much in my affairs. The year I turned 12, I broke my dad's most beloved tea set. He said nothing and turned to buy a new set. But just 2 days later, my sister made the same mistake. He would laugh and poke her nose, saying she was a complete worry. I grow very cautiously, trying not to sprout any branches. Later, I married Ethan and then divorced him. I was also afraid of causing him trouble. I didn't dare to tell him that I always heard others say we weren't a good match. I never dared to ask about anything concerning Sophia. When it came time for the divorce, there were those who thought they understood the situation, believing I was such a considerate person, not asking or saying anything, just making room for your beloved. How reassuring that was. I always thought I didn't have that kind of qualification. Pride and inferiority pulled me in different directions, ultimately making me awkward and unlikable. The next day, I woke up very early. When I went downstairs, I saw a car parked not far away. In fact, I had never seen this car before. But in that moment, as if I had sensed it beforehand, I walked over and looked through the partially open window, where I saw Ethan. He closed his eyes, leaning against the seat, his brows slightly furrowed, sleeping restlessly. For a moment, it actually evoked a sense of pity. It seems he had been here all night. Thinking of the 13 calls from last night, I pressed my lips together and ultimately decided not to wake him. I stepped out of the community and finally managed to get Max's contact information. Then I called him. As soon as the call connected, he was the first to shout, "Sister-in-law." My voice faltered slightly, and I didn't have time to correct his address. I asked, "How did you know it was me?" He was taken aback, coughed twice, and after a while, finally spoke. "About half a year ago, Ethan called you using my phone. I saved it in my contacts. I didn't expect that this would be the answer. 6 months ago. I suddenly remembered that this did indeed happen. At that time I was taking a nap, and when I received that call, I was still quite groggy. I thought it was the delivery I ordered a couple of days ago, so I just said a few casual words and hung up. They remained silent over there, quietly listening to me. Only at the end did they softly hum an acknowledgement. At that time, I felt that this voice was somewhat familiar, but I didn't think much of it. Now it seems that person is actually Ethan. Max saw that I had been silent and added, he wanted to call you 2 years ago. He's been looking at that number for 2 years, even I can remember it by heart, but he never dared to call. It was half a year ago that I just couldn't take it anymore and dialed it in front of him. Dare not? It's hard to imagine that someone as strategic and calculating as he is, would also have moments of hesitation like this. I sighed and said I understood, then asked him to come over and take Ethan away. Otherwise, just let him sleep like this. When there are more people later, there's no guarantee that someone won't post the photos online. Max immediately agreed, okay, I'll be there soon. It was several days later when I saw Ethan again. The impulsive energy had faded, and I calmed down to inquire about things. Soon, I learned that I didn't have a fiancé at all. As for the engagement, it was nothing but a figment of imagination. Max called me to complain, saying he had gotten himself into big trouble this time, and for the next 6 months, he was afraid he wouldn't have a moment's rest. Ethan was angry with him for spreading rumors and had thrown several tricky projects his way. That night, I saw Ethan at my doorstep. He shook off his previous dejection, and his whole demeanor became a bit more composed. He called my name seriously, just like before, Lily. My heart tightened slightly. He stepped forward, lowering his gaze to me. I misunderstood before, I'm sorry. I was momentarily speechless. It was only then that I finally looked up at him. In the dimly lit hallway, the man's features remained handsome as he stepped closer, almost as if he were making a desperate gamble. Do you know? Over the years, I've missed you a lot. I had never heard such words come from his mouth. For a moment, I felt a bit angry and also wanted to cry. If I had heard this earlier, perhaps we wouldn't have come to this point between us. I will understand that he does have feelings for me, even if just a little. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left so decisively. It's strange, at this moment, my heart is unexpectedly calm. In fact, I even have time to think about what he and Sophia mean. Will the golden boy and jade girl also end up with regrets? It was as if he could see what I was thinking. Ethan furrowed his brow and said, she has been remarried for a long time. I remained silent for a long time. Finally, I looked up at Ethan and said, none of this matters anymore. Even without Sophia, Ethan and I might not have had a good ending anyway. As others have said, we were never from the same world. I am his mismatch, the second choice he settled for. From the very beginning, it was a mistake. After that day, I never saw Ethan again. A few days later, our department went out to have some fun together. Halfway through my meal, feeling bored, I stepped out by myself for a while. Little did I expect to hear my name in the hallway. In these past few years, who hasn't understood? The person in Ethan's heart is Lily. Who would have thought? I always believed that he and Sophia were truly a match. Someone sighed regretfully, yeah, that Lily, her background is a bit lacking, and when she's with us, she's so cold to Sophia, it's like she just can't fit in. I guess she's just to Ethan's taste. Inside the door, their conversation continued. I have heard these words many times before. Hearing them again this time, my heart felt not even the slightest ripple. In the next moment, a pair of hands covered my ears, and after a brief pause, pulled me behind him, then kicked open the door to the private room. I stared blankly at the man's silhouette. He was backlit, his expression obscure and inscrutable. Whether it's a good match or not has nothing to do with you, he said, glancing at me and gripping my wrist. Wait for me outside. I had only been standing outside for a short while when Ethan came out. I asked him, how did you end up here? He glanced at me, his eyes holding something I couldn't comprehend. Just passing by. I let out a sound, not exposing him. What a coincidence that would be. He sighed, looked at me, and suddenly spoke. During those 3 years, did you suffer a lot of grievances? I was taken aback for a moment, then shook my head. Not really. In the past, when we had some free time, we would sit together and watch movies. We would also chat about some trivial topics. But those, looking back now, all seem like things from a past life. At this moment, if we were to describe ourselves with a single word, it would be estranged. Not long after, I heard that Ethan had fallen out with the people in the private room that day. This incident caused quite a stir. In the circle, people are saying that Ethan is truly infatuated this time, driven by anger for his beloved. This beloved is none other than his ex-wife. A couple of days later, I met Sophia. This time, she recognized me. She reached out her hand and shook mine. I've looked at your wedding photos so many times. I should have recognized you the last time we met. I was slightly surprised. She smiled, a hint of wistfulness in her expression. To be honest, I'm very jealous of you. I was somewhat puzzled. She looked at me, lost in thought for a moment, before speaking. Before he got married, everyone thought he liked me. I should have been the kind of girl standing by his side. We were such a good match. That year, in front of many people, I confessed to him, saying we should give it a try. He agreed without much hesitation. He was really good to me. But it wasn't long before I realized that no matter how well he treated me, it wasn't love. He didn't love me at all. He would never take the initiative to hold my hand, nor did he like me to be too close to him. These are quite different from what I heard before. Sophia looked straight at me, so, in a fit of anger, I broke up with him. I scolded him hoarsely, telling him that a person like him would never know what love is in this lifetime. You know what happened next. Out of spite, I married someone else. After my divorce, I got into a car accident, and when he found out, he came without a word. I thought he had come to his senses. But when I returned, I realized it was just guilt. I looked at the wedding ring in her hand. So you. She raised her hand, her face bright. Don't worry, this time I didn't hold a grudge against anyone. However, I still want to apologize to you. Adding you on WeChat and sending those things was indeed my selfishness at play. I listened in a daze until Sophia glanced back at me. She asked, I have the courage to start over. What about you? What do you think about Ethan? I turned around and saw the man not far away. He was looking at me, his expression somewhat uneasy. It was as if he feared that our relationship would become even worse. I suddenly thought of that snowy night 2 years ago. The person I saw standing by the window was, most likely, the one in front of me now. He walked towards me and instinctively explained, I happened to be here for a meeting, and when I heard you were here, I came over. I recall many memories related to Ethan. I remember the first time we met. I sat awkwardly in front of him. He smiled, his handsome features lighting up, and said to me, do you remember that day you accidentally spilled the hangover soup all over me? Hello, Lily. We meet again. I still remember that night, when the heavy rain poured down. He said to me, let's just leave it like this. The next day, he bought me an enormous diamond ring, planning to take me on a belated honeymoon trip together. Later, when I brought up divorce, he sat on the sofa and said to me, take your time to think it over. I have all the time in the world. Indeed, there is nothing in this world that is purely black or white. As he said, I shouldn't so easily draw conclusions about our feelings. Whether we are a good match or not, what others say is worth nothing. I smiled, tears in my eyes. Ethan, you like me, don't you? Ethan's side story. After Ethan broke up with Sophia, he let out a heavy sigh of relief. He has always regarded love as something very trivial. He thought, this thing is nothing to make a fuss about. What's worth losing sleep over, laughing and crying at the same time? But when he really tried to be with Sophia, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was awkwardness. Later, he heard that she got married. He was troubled for a long time, for Sophia and for himself. He felt that Sophia was unwell, and he also felt that he had let down the heart of a good girl. Perhaps, from the very beginning, he should not have been with her. During that time, to be honest, he was quite troubled. Until he met Lily. She was different from any girl he had met before. She was very stubborn and took everything she did very seriously. After he mentioned the shirt that had been soaked in the sobering soup, when they met again, she bought several similar styles. Looking at him, she felt a bit shy and said, "I kind of forgot what that one looked like, so I bought a few more. What do you think?" In that moment, Ethan smiled. It was strange, every time he saw her, he felt like laughing. At that time, he thought that dating, or even marrying, this girl in front of him might not be such a bad thing. Later, everything turned out just as he had imagined. They would still have a long future ahead of them. Until the news of Sophia's car accident arrived. It's actually not that serious. But out of guilt from before, he still went. He even forgot that Lily was still waiting for him. Many years later, that became the thing he regretted the most. But at that time, he didn't think too much. He went home as usual, saw her, and wanted to explain. But it seemed she no longer wanted to listen. She said she wanted a divorce, she said she was tired of it. He listened, only to feel his heart being torn apart, aching painfully. How could it have become so tiresome? Since she left, he secretly went to find her many times. A thick stack of round-trip tickets was piled up on his desk. He wasn't a fool, but when it came to this matter, he was incredibly foolish. In the spring of the second year after she left, Sophia got married and confessed to him that she had actually added Lily on WeChat. At that moment, Ethan suddenly understood everything. It wasn't that she had grown tired of him, she had completely given up on him. There are no walls that don't let the wind through, it was his mistake to overlook her. Many nights, he wanted to rush in front of her and explain everything properly. But he always lacked a bit of courage. It's quite surprising, isn't it? He thought he was capable of anything. But in the end, he turned out to be a coward. However, fortunately, there is still a long time ahead, and he can take his time.